AFRINIC is taking an illegal approach, asking Western companies to interfere with the judicial system and the democracy of Mauritius. If a bird lived its whole life in a cage, it will never realize that it is not free. A famous quote that discusses the concept of freedom in a deep sense. But unfortunately, it seems like not only a bird can't realize that it's not free when it's in a cage. Weirdly enough, some people ask for the cage themselves. They want to be slaves to other people, being told what to do and what not, even if those people have been given their freedom and independence with blood and fighting. But to be fair, we know that those people are not the noble ones who sacrificed their lives to enjoy their freedom and take back their rights as humans. The people we're talking about here are the current suspended, corrupted AFRINIC leaders who seem to be dying for the old ages of colonialism and Western countries interfering with their freedom and democratic systems. The ones their ancestors sacrificed their blood and souls for. It seems like AFRINIC's current suspended leaders give no care about that at all. All they care about is to achieve their own individual goals and benefits at any cost, even if that cost is putting the whole internet system in the world in danger, even if that cost is inviting private Western companies to interfere with African countries, democratic and their judicial systems, even if that cost is betraying their own people, all to work their hidden and evil agendas for whatever shadow organization they're working for. Let's tell you exactly what happened. And believe me, you'll want to watch this video till the end, because this is the video we're going to reveal some important facts and events that came to light just very recently. These facts are going to change your whole idea about AFRINIC's current leaders and how they operate, not only AFRINIC, but how they want to operate in the whole world. As those corrupted leaders think there's some secret supreme government of the world that has God powers and has all the rights to mess with people's lives and countries' systems as they want. Okay, are you ready? Remember the letter that NRO sent to the Mauritian government asking it to give AFRINIC some kind of diplomatic status, basically requesting that AFRINIC is to be under no law system in Mauritius, considering it an international company. No? Well, no worries. Let's remind you of the story in a nutshell. Before revealing the important and game-changing facts that I want to tell you, NRO, a long-existing body of a group of 5 private companies who act as a regional internet registries, or IRs, has sent a letter to the Mauritius government asking for some unusual requests on July 12, 2022. In this letter, the NRO hinted that if the government of Mauritius failed to comply with their requests, then one of their 5 private companies, referring to AFRINIC, will be subject to relocation. The NRO openly demanded in their letter that the private company of AFRINIC should be given recognition as an international organization, a demand we don't see every day from a private company, as well as asking for diplomatic status for AFRINIC, basically making AFRINIC above the law. Why? Just because AFRINIC's current corrupted, suspended by the court leader doesn't want to be held accountable for his actions. Such absurd requests from NRO would have an enormous bad effect on the democracy and the judicial systems of Mauritius, as well as it can lead to many illegal proceedings that can totally mess up with the systems in the country. And that's why such a letter and approach was so surprising from NRO. Why would they do something like that? Why would NRO mess with a country's democratic system and try to interfere with its judicial system using such a bottom approach? Well, sometimes when you know the answer, the question ain't so weird anymore. And that's exactly what happened here. Welcome to our first big reveal of the day. Such absurd requests that the NRO requested in their letter to the Mauritius government weren't actually made by NRO. However, they were made by AFRINIC's leaders. They're the ones behind this letter. It turns out that some leader in AFRINIC actually requested from NRO to send this letter to the Mauritius government. Surprise, isn't it? We strongly suspect that Eddie Kaihura, the suspended CEO of AFRINIC, could be the mind behind all of this, as we suspect that Eddie has requested the NRO to write the letter they've sent containing the unusual and disrespectful requests to the Mauritius government and judicial system. It is also worth mentioning that our suspicion is not random or invalid, as the big reveal is that NRO said that themselves, that AFRINIC requested them to write this letter and send it to the government of Mauritius. In a recent email written by Mr. Hans Potter, managing director of RIPE, which is a part of the NRO project, Mr. Potter himself stated that AFRINIC had requested NRO to write this letter and send it, as in his own words he said, and we quote, "The NRO's letter was a joint effort by the legal teams of the 5 ORIRs after AFRINIC requested our support in the matter. We firmly believe it was important to add our name alongside the other ORIRs and collectively put our weight behind AFRINIC's request to the Mauritian government." If this is not a clear proof that a certain leader in AFRINIC was behind the outrageous letter with all its disrespectful threats and demands, we honestly don't know what can be. Worth to mention that AFRINIC actually doesn't have any valid nor legal board currently and can't legally make such requests to NRO. As RIPE MD mentioned in his recent letter, and we're quoting, "Any statement on behalf of the NRO needs to be made jointly with the other 4 OIRs. So who's speaking on behalf of the organisation of AFRINIC making such absurd requests to NRO? We honestly can't think about this act by leaders in AFRINIC requesting NRO to send this letter to the government of Mauritius in any other way than its nostalgic mesmerising of colonialism and slavery. This is an outrageous criminal act. Basically, AFRINIC, now suspended leaders, are asking foreign private companies to intervene with Mauritius constitution, judicial systems, and hence harming the democracy and sovereignty of the country. A certain leader in AFRINIC asking 4 foreign private Western companies to interfere with African nations' justice. It's an obvious act of colonialism. And AFRINIC's leaders are now acting just like those betraying leaders who sold their brothers to Western countries to be slaves 500 years ago. However, you know what's ironic, actually? And here comes our second big reveal of the day. In the letter written by NRO upon request from AFRINIC, NRO made a potentially defamatory act, which we now know that it was made by a certain leader in AFRINIC. That one of AFRINIC's resource members is acting vexatious, and that he's an outsider, dangerous to the continent. Well, who's vexatious now, huh? Requesting Western private companies to interfere with an African country's whole judicial system? Not to mention that calling a member vexatious, which is not a random choice of word, is absurd. The meaning of the word vexatious, according to dictionary, is causing or tending to cause annoyance, frustration, or worry in a disturbing way. So, just because this member is trying to defend his rights as a human being and a business owner makes him vexatious? Well, this is the way AFRINIC's current leaders think about any human who's trying to defend his rights and saying to them, no! What you're doing is actually wrong. It's against legal rules. It seems like we're all vexatious in the eyes of African leaders and the shadow, evil organization behind them. Moreover, it's worth mentioning that the court itself has ruled that the member in question is not in fact vexatious, as is clarified in the following statement. I do not agree that the applicant is, in respect of the application before me, being a vexatious litigant causing prejudice to the respondent. Yet that didn't stop AFRINIC nor NRO from making that silly allegation to that member, calling him vexatious. But you know what they say? Sometimes people speak about themselves and their bad traits by pointing these traits out to other innocents. And we think it's obvious in this case who's vexatious and who is not, as their choice of word. We're not surprised if AFRINIC's suspended leaders approach neither NRO. Even if they make false allegations against an innocent member defending his rights and calling him vexatious, even if the court says that he's not. What do you expect that someone who's willing to betray his people and give up his freedom to some private Western countries? And what do you expect from an African person who's willing to request private Western countries to interfere with an African country's democratic and judicial systems? What do you expect from someone who doesn't care about anything other than his own benefits and evil agendas? Requesting a letter that totally broke the fundamentals of the RIR's system and their community drive. The current AFRINIC leaders must go. We must save the internet and its communities from these people and make it a safe place with no corruption, no interference in country systems, and no hidden agendas. Please like and share this video. Share with the people and let them know how AFRINIC's suspended leaders are thinking and acting. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.